Hey guys, thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel at Flippin Hippos. Today is May 16th. It's a Thursday, and I'm Star the Flippin Hippo. I had a lot of requests from y'all in our Facebook group to do a video on how to properly comp your items on eBay and price them for sale. So that's what we're going to do today. First, I'm going to go over a couple of bullet points I want to talk about with you guys, and then we're going to get into screen sharing, and I'm going to show you how I comp. I'm actually going to look up several items and go through the process with you guys so you can see how I do it. But before we get into that, the number one important thing to do when you're comping is not to spend too much time on it, not to waste your time. And I'm sure you've heard me say this before, but it bears repeating. You do not need to sit at the computer or on your phone for 15, 20 minutes, half hour, an hour looking for the exact item that you have to comp it, especially if it's a more common item. So if you have a BKE Pearl Snap men's western shirt and an extra large, and you can find other BKE extra large Pearl Snap shirts when you're comping, that's good enough. You don't need to find the exact color. You don't need to find the exact print. It does not need to be the same exact shirt that you're trying to list. And I think a lot of people get sucked down that rabbit hole and waste a lot of time. I read about it all the time in a lot of the different Facebook groups, not just ours, but people start looking up RN numbers and going on other platforms, looking on Google and going on the manufacturer site, trying to find the original manufacturer's retail price. None of that matters. You don't need the exact item, number one. Number two, if your item is used, you don't need the manufacturer's suggested retail price. In the world of eBay, that means exactly squat. It means nothing. If you're selling a used item on eBay, especially clothing, it does not matter what that manufacturer's retail suggested price is, because the world of eBay is its own world. Things on eBay have their own value. They're going to sell at the market price that is set by other resellers. Unfortunately, a lot of items get that race to the bottom on them, and items become worth less. They comp it less. You're pricing them for less. It is just an unfortunate scenario on eBay. If everyone would stop devaluing themselves and lowering prices and racing to the bottom, we wouldn't have that issue. And it might matter what something sells for brand new at the manufacturer, from the manufacturer. A really good example is Lucky Jeans. Those brand new are $100-$150 at the mall. And if you have a used pair on eBay these days, you're lucky if you can get 20 for them. So don't spend your time Googling or going to the website of the brand and stuff like that. It's just a huge time suck. It's a waste of time. You're going down a rabbit hole you don't need to go down. If you can go on eBay and find something similar to yours, that is good enough. You don't need to spend hours looking for the exact pink paisley button front Talbot's woman's shirt that you have. Find women's button front shirts, and you can find a median price in there when you're comping. The second point I want to talk about is, and this is a question I get asked all the time. Sometimes when you comp an item, the prices are all over the place, and it's hard to determine where you should price yours. So if you comp something and the prices range from $4 with free ship all the way up to $40 with free ship, I can see how that would be hard. And there are a lot of items that you look up that will be that way. They'll have prices all the way at the bottom, all the way up to the top. So the first thing you need to realize is don't do the lowest price, because if you do, you're contributing to the problem. If you price at the lowest price, you are part of the problem. You are now racing to the bottom along with every other Yahoo. And you're devaluing yourself and your item. If you're going to spend the time to go out and source items, and you're going to spend the time to photograph them and measure them and comp them and list them in your store, and you want to list them at the lowest price that you can, you have no value in your own time. You have no value for yourself. You don't value your efforts as an employee or as a boss for yourself. Put some value into yourself. What's your time worth? And most of you by now pretty well know what you're sourcing and know its value. So don't bring something home and price it at $4 free ship because everyone else and their brother is. It just devalues you. You should have a lot more value in yourself and your time and what you're worth and what your time is worth and your item. A lot of times when people see an item priced really, really low, they're going to wonder what's wrong with it. And I guarantee you, they'll skip over you, because I've put things on eBay at a really high price knowing there were other ones that were way lower than mine, and mine still sold pretty quick. Sometimes some people will look at the really cheap stuff or the really low prices and think something's wrong with yours. Something's got to be wrong with that if they're selling it for that price. I don't want it. So, put some value into your item and let the buyers on eBay see that your items have value as well. So, to decide where to go if the prices are all over the place, number one, value yourself, your time, your item. Number two, decide how fast you want it to flip. Personally, I like to wait. I've got time. We got lots of items in the store. I list new things every day. Keith lists new things every day. If you're somebody that's sourcing and listing every day and you're active and you're always putting new items in your store and you have daily sales, whether it's 1 a day or 10 a day, you're probably someone who can wait. You can put it in the store, price it high, and wait. If you need it to go faster, if you don't have a lot of capital built up yet, if you're brand new to eBay and you're not having daily sales and you need to make more sales to make that profit back so you can source, then you may want to go in the middle. But I personally would only recommend going in that middle ground for 2 reasons. 1, you're new and you need that money. Or 2, it's a really saturated market. So if you have capital in the bank and you can absolutely go out and go sourcing, if this item that you just listed today doesn't sell within a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, price it high and let it sit. You can lower the price over time. And if you're doing other best practices that I recommend to you guys all the time, like running sales, having best offer, having good keywords in your title and following that secret formula in your title, having really great photographs, you can do promoted listings. You can offer free shipping and up the price even more. There's a lot of best practices you can do to get your item to sell faster, but they also enable you to list it higher. You can list at higher prices if you're willing to put best offer on or run sales. But if you're following everything you're supposed to do, you've got money in the bank, you're not desperate to make that flip right now, I recommend pricing it high and waiting. You got time. If you're listing every day and you're active and you're still making daily sales, you can let some stuff sit for a while. If you're brand new and you really need to get some sales in before the weekend so you have some money to go to the bends because you haven't built up capital yet, I can understand pricing it a little bit lower to get it to go faster. But I would choose in the middle. I would never race to the bottom. And another thing you want to consider is how many of that item is on eBay. So let's say you come home with a Disney plush and you comp your Disney plush and you're disappointed because somebody thought it was a good idea to put a Walt Disney Resort rare plush for $4 free ship, and then the next guy has it for $6 free ship. But if there's only 2 or 3 or just a handful that are that low, price yours high. You can wait for a couple to sell and then let yours finally sell at the higher price. So that is something else I do recommend to folks. Just kind of do a count and how many are there. If it's not a saturated market, if there's only a handful that are really, really priced, really, really low, priced really cheap is what I was trying to say. If there's only a couple or a handful, price yours up and wait. Those other cheapos will sell and yours will eventually. Or maybe somebody will come on and wonder why those 2 Plutos are for $4 and $6 and yours is $20, and they may see value in yours and think something's wrong with those, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. If it's a saturated market, you might want to go in the middle, and I even follow that a lot of times. If I have an item and it's saturated and there's thousands and thousands of them, and everyone is pricing from low all the way to high, I kind of go high middle. Like I kind of go in the middle, but higher, but less than the highest people. But I still put value in myself, value in my time, and value in my item because I don't even go right in the middle. I go higher than the middle, but under the top. But you can kind of base what you're going to price based on how fast you need it to flip and how saturated that market is. But unless, I mean, this bears repeating, I know I've just said it, but let me say it one more time. Unless you're brand new and don't have capital, don't have a way to source unless you start making sales, you can price it high and you can sit on it. I have 2 soap boxes when it comes to being a reseller. Most of you know what they are by now, but in case you're new to the channel, and you'll have to excuse the noise out of the window. It's finally not 30 degrees in the middle of May in Pittsburgh or raining, so we've got all the windows open for some fresh air. But my 2 soap boxes are partial refunds, giving people their money back, whether it's all of it or a little bit of it before you get your item back, and not calling that bluff and getting that return. I've made tons of videos about that. And my second one is that race to the bottom and pricing things low. You know, if making the quick flip is what you want to do, maybe you need to take your stuff that you sourced and go to a flea market or have a garage sale. Because putting your stuff on eBay at garage sale prices is just a race to the bottom. It ruins the market for a lot of people. And, you know, you're kind of devaluing other resellers too. You're not having respect for the market when you're the one that's part of the problem for crashing it. I know that sounds tough. I know that sounds rough. But it's just how I feel. I've only got 2 soap boxes, guys, and this is one of them, and I feel very strongly about it. When you comp items, try for the middle, but aim higher than that. Your time is worth more money. You're worth more money. Your items are worth more money. And you're not doing anyone any favors by getting that fast flip. Ooh, you made a nickel when you could have made a dime. I know there's a lot of people that like that fast nickel, and that's fine. If you want to voice your opinions in the comments, that's great. Be respectful about it. But I don't see why anyone would devalue themselves and not make more money if you can, with the exceptions I talked about. All right. I'm going to get off my soapbox now, and we're going to go to my screen. I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to comp a couple of items so you can see how I do it. So here we are at eBay.com. We're going to pretend that I have a pair of BKE bootcut jeans. And these jeans don't have a particular name. Like, you know how the silver will have the Francis jeans, and the Suki jeans, and some of the Lucky brands are Zoe, things like that. And BKE does sometimes have names, but we'll pretend I just have a regular old pair of BKE women's jeans, and they don't have a name for their style, but by looks and measurement, I have determined that they're boot cut. So I would say BKE women's jeans, and I would add boot cut. Again, it's not so important to find your exact item, but as close to it as you can get is great. I don't have a plus size, so I wouldn't put that in here. Well, we're pretending I don't have a plus size. If I had a plus size, I would put that in here, because a lot of times you can get more money for the plus sizes. You want to make sure you come down here on the left and check your condition. If yours are new with tags, you should only be looking at new. If yours are used, you should only be looking at used. Then you want to scroll down to sold. You want to see what these are actually selling for right now. Anybody can list any item at any price. You guys are all familiar with the Beanie Babies and the Black Diamond Disney VHS tapes that are priced ridiculously high. But if you look in the solds, they never sell for that. So that's why I recommend going to the solds. You get a really good solid view or look at what these are selling for currently. It is a good idea to kind of eyeball through the actives as well, but if you're just getting used to comping and looking at items, just kind of go through the solds like I'm going to show you right now. Come up here, so you've got whether you're used or new, you've got sold. You want to come up here to sort, and you want to pick ended recently. The reason you want to do that is because you want to see what things are selling for today, yesterday, last week. If a pair of BKE boots sold for $50 30 days ago, that does not mean that today they will go for that. So make sure you sort to ended recently. Then you want to come down here under the buying format and just click buy it now. The reason you want to do that is so that you filter the auctions out. Auctions are not a good way to look at comps. Somebody could have listed a pair of these jeans for 99 cents and not gotten any bids except for one, and they went for 99 cents. One could have been bid up to 20. I just don't think that auctions are a very stable way of looking up your comps. You want to look at buy it now prices. So you want to look at your condition, sold, ended recently, and buy it now. And then you can kind of scroll through. You can see these ones went for 27, 25. These were all today. You can see the date they sold. Another pair went for 20 today, 24 today. This one took a best offer but had started them at 20, so those went for less than 20. These are all today, guys. 25, 23, and then yesterday we've got another best offer here on a pair listed at 20, 20, 34 yesterday. So you can pretty well see, number one, that these still sell pretty regularly. And just between yesterday and today, a bunch sold. So you can see the low end. If you scroll through, the low end for these is going to be less than 15, which doesn't even make sense. Let's be honest, a padded flat costs around $8 depending on your top rated seller status and if you get a bigger discount. But on average, just for ease of math, we'll say a padded flat costs $8. I don't like to sell jeans for under 17 or 16. But there's your race to the bottom. There's your lowest price. That's the one I would recommend you stay away from. These are listed at 20 and they sold for less than that. But then you see a 34 and you see a 25, 24, a 20, 25. So if you wanted to pick the mid-range on these, you would pick 20. You could go 22. I would start mine at 25 because I like to go high. But that's how I would comp these. Very simple. I would just type in BKE, women's jeans, boot cut. I don't need anything more specific than that, except that they are used. They're buy it now. I'm looking in the solds in the most recent. So let's say I did have a pair of Lucky Brand. What are they called? Zoe bootleg jeans. Let's say I had a pair of those. So I will just come over here and make sure that I'm only looking at buy it now and used. Well, this only has one pair, and that had sold back in March for $10. So these might be something that you may not want to source. But over here, matching fewer words, other types of Zoe sold in February and March. 24, 14, 15. And then I might, in this instance, like how I had mentioned, just kind of glance at what's active because there weren't a lot of solds. I see 20, 22, 35, 50. These are all over the place. These are new tags, guys. Didn't have that ability to filter that over here because I'm looking at, I guess, close to my search. I would probably start them at 20, 25 if I was really feeling froggy because look how high some of these are. But being the only one pair of the Zoe bootleg sold since February, they would be slow. You know they're going to be long tail. You know they're going to take a while, so maybe you'd list them at 20 to get them out the door a little faster. All right, let's try something else. Let's say I had a Disney Store Winnie the Pooh Piglet 10-inch plush. Now, I put all of that detail in there because I want to make sure that I get the correct Disney plush, which I want to look at Disney Store. When it comes to plush, Disney Store is a different price than Walt Disney Resort, than the Mattel or the Fisher Price or the Just Play Disney. And you want where the character came from, like their character family, and then your character, and then I do put in the 10-inch plush. I do not look for the exact plush I have. If I find it, it's great. But I don't spend a lot of time looking for the exact one. I just want to make sure I have the right brand of Disney, the character family, the character, and the size, because the size is important too. So I'll click search. I'll go down the left over here, let's say mine's used, and I want to look at solds, and I want to make sure I've only got buy it now, which I do. Well, there's only 2 results, so somebody sold this one for $3.74 with free returns and free shipping. How do they do it? I can't even with this. Let's go down and see matching fewer words. I would kind of glance through these. Here's 1, 17, 14. They took best offers. Not very many, so I might go and look through the listeds just to see what's listed. Now this one's up for 30, but he's special. He's got big feet. If I didn't have this exact one with the big feet, mine's probably not worth 30. Here's one for 10, 15. So I would kind of base it on if I had a plain piglet, a very plain one, I'd probably go 12. I don't like to go below 12 on plush, especially Disney. Again, we do all those best practices where we have best offer and sales. We lower our prices every once in a while. So I'd probably start at 12 if it was a plain one. If I had this big footed one, I'd probably start at 30. The Santa one, if I had one with a sweater or a Santa hat, maybe 15, 16. So let's try a different plush. Let's say I brought home a Nickelodeon brand. Well, I just sold one of these, but let's look her up anyway. Dora the Explorer Mermaid. And she was 9 inches. Let's see what we see here. $2. How do people do this, guys? I just don't understand it myself. Alright, I've clicked the solds. Buy it now isn't even an option for me to select. So let's see what we see. This one went for less than 13. Why do I want to say that's mine? Was that the one I just sold for 11? I think that was mine. Here's one for 11. So, you know, I don't see very many of them. I see one that sold for, I would know, if this wasn't mine, I would know it went for less than 13. This one's a little different, but she went for 11. So let's just kind of peek and see what's listed. We'll ignore the $2 one. Here's a $5, but see, this one's Mattel or Fisher Price. I don't know which. They keyword spammed. But if yours was really Nickelodeon and not Mattel or Fisher Price, you can probably bet on 13. Started at 13, maybe 14 with best offer. And let's do one more search together, just as a good example. So let's say you did have a BKE men's extra large pearls. Oops, sorry guys, I cannot type while I talk. Pearl snap western shirt. Okay, so you want to go to used. We're just, for sake of ease, we're pretending all these items we're comping are used. And I went to solds, and I want to make sure I buy it now and ended recently. And mine, we'll say mine's black. But I'm not gonna bother looking for the exact one I have. So I'm just gonna look at what has sold. This one went for 18, 15. You know it was less than 22.84, 23, less than 15, 17. So you can kind of get the drift that most of them are going for around 20, 25. A few went for 18 or less. And that would be the race to the bottom as far as I'm concerned, these 18s and lesses, because these are 23, 22 on the regular. So if you want to be in the middle, 20, 22, maybe 23, I would start at 25, 26. This one went for 28. This is a 2XL though. So I would probably do 25, 26 to be on the higher end, 20, 22 to be in the middle. I wouldn't go less than that though, because that falls under that race to the bottom. I want to look at one more thing with you guys that's not clothing. So if you saw my haul video the other day, I brought home the Betty Boop coffee mug, right? And it was shaped like a TV. So let's see what I pull up by typing in Betty Boop coffee mug TV. I'm not going to waste a lot of time looking for my exact mug. It is vintage and I know it's special, but I would just kind of glance through here. And you can kind of do that sometimes too. If you know yours is special, you can add a little extra money to it. If you went to comp something and you found a bunch that weren't like yours and not as special, you know you can price yours a little bit more. And if you can't find the plus size of something, but you have the plus size, you know you can list your plus size for a couple bucks more than everybody else's. So just keep that in mind when you're looking through too. These are all over the place. All over the place. I see from $7 to like $25. If I had the brand, I would type it in here. I'm going to try pink. This is actually still sitting around waiting to be photographed. I haven't even photographed it or comped it. But let's see what's listed. If I had the actual brand, I'd probably be better off. But you can see they're listed from 10 to 25 again. Mine looks like a TV, for those of you that remember seeing it in the haul video. And it is vintage. So I would price as high as I could, like up with the highest ones of these. Or actually type in the brand. Here's a vintage for $21.15. So that just kind of gives you an idea. And you can keep in mind if yours is better, if it's special for some reason. If you comp a shirt and everybody else's is plain and yours has fancy buttons and flip cuffs, go 5 above everybody else. Yours is different. It's better. If yours is plus size and you can't find plus size, list yours higher than everybody else. You can charge more for bigger sizes. If it's not saturated, like I said, you could list it for a little bit more and wait it out. But you can use this method with anything from used clothing all the way up through electronics. Just type in your basic keywords that you want to find. What it is, the brand, the size maybe, but you don't need to spend a lot of time. And the one thing I want you to take away from this, you guys, especially those of you that are new to reselling, make sure you check over here if you're doing clothes, that you're doing used if your clothes are used, or checking new, because you don't want to cheat yourself either. If you have something new with tags, it's going to be worth more money than a used item, so you want to make sure you're looking at the prices and the solds of an item that is new. Make sure that you're in the buy it nows, because auctions are not a good way to base your price on. Those are all over the place. Make sure you're in solds, and make sure you're looking at the newest first. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any more questions, or I didn't explain anything clearly enough, or if I've caused more confusion, which I hope not, because I always like to help you guys and teach you guys. But if I didn't clear something up, or you still have questions, or you want a follow-up video or anything like that, do not hesitate to leave a comment on this video and let me know. I 100% will do my best to answer your question. As always, if I don't have the answer, I will find someone who does. If you want to get a hold of me a lot faster, join our Facebook group. The link is in the description box. You can tag me in a post in there any time of the day, and I usually get back to you within an hour or two. And there's also an announcement thread in there where people can put requests and ask questions for videos as well, if you want to participate in that or take advantage of that. Alright, I'm going to flip this around so y'all can see me again. So that is basically it. It's real fast. It's real simple. You don't need to be spending a lot of time, 20 minutes, an hour, looking for your item. Just comp and then put those filters on like I showed you, and go through the prices and the solds, and pick your price somewhere in the middle or higher than that. It's that easy. You don't really need to spend a lot of time on it. Like you saw, it takes me a couple of seconds to scroll through and pick a price. And I would like to point out that the more you do this, the better you get. I say that all the time. With repetition, everything gets easier. With repetition, everything gets faster. You will get to a point where on certain items you won't need to comp anymore. It's very rare that I comp plush or jeans anymore. I just know what I'm going to ask for certain brands of jeans, and I just know what certain plush are worth. And if you get into something like that where you're doing the same thing over and over again, buying the same brands, sourcing the same things, you'll get to that point too. The only thing I would recommend there is if you get to a point where you're not comping anymore because you just kind of price everything the same, once every 6 months or so, just double check yourself, double check the comps in case there has been a race to the bottom and you're over here still listing your Lucky Jeans at $40 like they used to sell for, and everyone else is around 20, 25. So just every 6 months or so I double check myself. I go back through the comps and I make sure that I'm, still kind of relevant and not sky high. And then the one other piece of advice I wanted to give you guys today, or talk about with you guys today, is how to price items with flaws and defects. There will be some things you bring home that you will discover you missed a flaw, you missed a defect. If it's something that's worth selling, absolutely, still sell it. Put it in your store. Just disclose whatever flaws it has or whatever defects it has. And there will be some that won't be worth it, and you can redonate those for a write-off. But there are some that are worthwhile, and the best example I can give you is the Robert Graham button-down flip cuff shirt we had that had coffee stains all down the front. It still sold for $20. A used stained shirt sold for $20 because it was Robert Graham. So that was definitely something that was worthwhile. So if you have something that's worth a lot of money normally and it has a defect, has a flaw, it's worth still putting in your store, how do you price that? How do you comp that? Well, it's kind of like a mix between guessing and common sense. So you would comp the item and see what you would price it at normally, and then kind of just use your own judgment to judge what that damage or that defect is worth. If it's missing the very bottom button of a button front shirt, but the shirt still has the 2 extra buttons with it, maybe you'll knock $2 to $5 off for the inconvenience of them having to take the extra button and put it on the shirt. You're not requiring them to go out and get extra buttons or anything like that, so it's not really worth knocking that much off. If you have stains all down the front, you might want to mark it halfway. If it has just a tiny tear, maybe you take $5 or $10 off. A lot of times with plush, if they have like the matted hair or their hang tag is damaged, I'll go down a couple bucks. But it's really just kind of guesswork and your own judgment and some common sense. You take what you comp the item normally and then decide what you're going to take off for your damage. But don't overvalue the damage either. A lot of damage really isn't worth taking that much off unless it's really bad. But like I said, our Robert Graham sold for $20 even with coffee stains all down the front. So there are things that you're going to get home. We still to this day do it. Every reseller does it because we're all humans and humans are fallible. Sometimes you get stuff home and you miss stuff. But if it's a brand that's worth it, put it in your store, knock a couple bucks off, and still sell it. Make your money back, make a little bit of profit, go out, source something better next time, source more items, and that's it, guys. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. I always appreciate hearing from you guys. Like this video before you leave. It does help the channel. If you haven't already and you'd like to, please subscribe to our channel and help us feed a hungry hippo. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're at Flippin Hippos across all social media. And join our Facebook group. Link is in the description box. Until next time, you guys, go be productive, make money, and have a good night.